So we're pairing fresh goat's cheese with Sauvignon Blanc from Casablanca. Sauvignon Blanc is one of the world's biggest grapes. It's the most grown all over the world. It has lots of different sort of interpretations by different regions, by different terroirs, by different winemakers. The classics are Loire, very big area for Sauvignon Blanc. Burgundy, probably the greatest. The history of Sauvignon Blanc in Chile is pretty brief. It wasn't until the late 20th century, the 1980s, 1990s, that the plantings began to really take off in Chile. So it's a very new wine. Oh, delicious. What we get from Chile is a more moderate climate that brings some slightly sweeter tropical notes. So let's look at this. Medium to light bodied, sort of crisp, zesty on the tongue. When we're looking at the grape flavors, we're big in there with our lemons and limes. We're going to get things like passion fruit and guava, quite unusual and very, very Chile specific, Casablanca specific. Maybe some minerality coming out of the soil. The winemakers tend to leave that zestiness as the main event. There might be a little bit of oaking to soften off the acidity around the edges, and it's not typically aged. Fresh goat's curd is the oldest cheese in the world, and unlike many cheeses, I don't think it tastes any better now than it did then. The purity, the simplicity, the quality is in the less you do with it, not the more. Some tasting notes on this. In the body, well, as I said, it's mousse-like, it's soft, it makes a paste in the palate. You can chew it if you like, sort of doesn't really want to be. You just want to be sort of massaged into flavor. You need to get your saliva in there to start releasing those notes. But the first thing that'll hit you is yogurt, milk, those kind of flavors, maybe a little bit of cream. You might follow up with some more complex flavors, things like lemon. That's often the first to arrive. I get sherbet sometimes, the very best ones. It's kind of like tingling, gorgeous sweetness. Other people will talk about sort of herbs and grass. I get that, but you do sometimes get some allium notes, maybe a little garlic or onion or something like that. Pairing fresh goat's cheese with Sauvignon Blanc. Now, this is not a guaranteed win because they can both be a little bit acid, and that can be quite overwhelming, quite big in the mouth. So we're going to look for some creamy notes to come through, and we might even augment it with a little bit of honey and walnut for a little sweetness and a bit of extra texture. Crisp, zesty, refreshing, bright, sunshiny. The fruits of the tropical fruits, that passion fruit, that guava, that's kind of rising to the surface. That's nice. In this case, I'm putting a little walnut. Using a combination like this brings out a much bigger balance of lots of different competing flavors and textures. So they're both moderate, light to moderate bodied products. The balance, the umami, the salt is all coming from the cheese, and the acidity and the sharpness is coming from the wine. The salty umami of the cheese lifting the fruit flavors in. There's no sweetness neither. That's why the honey can come in to complete the balance. There's not much in the way of harmony. There's not much in common. There's a little bit of herbaceousness in both, not as much as there would be if this was a Loire or Burgundy Sauvignon Blanc. Texturally, the cheese is a contrast to the wine, but it's one of the softer end of the cheeses. That's why the enjoyable walnut really adds a bit of extra texture. It's a very natural pair of products, a very widespread pair of products that sit on tables in the sunshine all over the world. It's for freshness, it's for lightness. It's delicious.